welcome everybody, first session of the day. I want to introduce Frédéric Harper. He is a senior developer and relations manager at Tiugo. He focuses on TinyMCE, and he has over 20 years of experience in technology, including more than 10 years as a developer relations, as well as being a full-time developer for the other 10 years. He's also a seasoned public speaker, and he's gone and given more than 180 talks and keynotes in 23 different countries. So he's been all over the place. Not only that, but Frédéric is also a published author of a book called Successive Programming, Personal Branding for Developers. It's by APRA, so you definitely would want to check that out. And he loves to learn new programming languages and technologies, and he also is going to be speaking today about the common bottlenecks that are found when collaborating on written content at scale. So everybody please join me in welcoming Frédéric to Evolve Digital.
Thank you. Thank you. Wow, that's a nice intro. I'm not used, like most conferences, they don't have any MC that intro you, so now it's really good for my ego. And actually, it's pretty good. That's going to be a nice room, but don't be afraid. I don't spit when I talk. And if I do, it's going to be only on pipi. That was where I tried to say it in English, pipi. No, so, super excited to be here. That's my first time speaking at that conference. My name is Frédéric Harper. I'm going to talk about common bottlenecks in collaborating on written content at scale. During the conference, feel free to, take pictures of my beautiful face, or maybe better from the slides, the content, share things on Twitter, LinkedIn, things you agree, things you disagree with. Feel free to do it. Also, my talk is in English, as you probably noticed, because I'm speaking in English right now, but French is also my first language, so if you have any question at the end in French, please feel free to say so. But you're going to be stuck with my beautiful Quebecois accent for the rest of the conference. So I only have 20 minutes, and we started a little bit late. I want to be respectful for the speaker after me. So that's going to be a quick talk. 20 minutes to talk about content creation and the bottlenecks and potential solutions is way too short. So I'm going to try to go as fast as I can, give you some information about content creation, also trying to give you tips. I was a little bit maybe too intense when I wrote the abstract. It was in my mind, I had 45 minutes, an hour to talk about everything that I wanted to talk about. Only have 20 minutes, but hopefully that's going to be useful if you're looking to create content, if you're actually creating content and you want to scale your content creation. That's going to be focused on written content, but keep in mind that I would say 75%, 80% of the talk's going to be good for any type of content. Please don't let that man in. No. Elias was trying to join in, and he was not able to enter the room. I'm like, that's perfect. I don't want Elias here. Joke aside. So when it comes to bottlenecks with written content, there is usually 3 categories of bottlenecks from my point of view. The first one is us, the human. Yes, we're flawed. Actually, not me, but most of the people in the room. No, that's not true. We are humans, and there's the human bottleneck that causes issue when we write content. I will probably be in front of the screen most of the time because I like to walk, I like to move when I talk. It's a small room, and I want to destroy everything that is in that corner with all the wires. But let me know if there's something you don't see. Second bottleneck is the process bottleneck, or processes. Usually those are probably the most important bottlenecks that you're going to see when you want to do written content on scale. And the third one is the tooling bottleneck. Let me start with the first one. The human bottlenecks when it comes to content creation. First issue I see most of the time, communication. Communication is the problem. And here, it's going to be sad. I don't have a lot of big tips for you when it comes to communication creation. Communication is basically, I know him. Just to be clear, I know him for a long time. So it's not the kind of thing I usually do in my talks. But, God, that's crazy. It's the first talk of the morning. I had 1 coffee. Give me a chance. So communication issues. I don't have a lot of tips for you outside of, communicate often and try to be as clear as possible. Usually, when I'm going to talk about the processes, bottlenecks, and the tips I'm going to share with you there, it's usually what's going to help with the communication issue. If things are clear, if processes are clear, it's going to be easier for you to solve that issue. The second one is unclear roles. You know, when it's not clear who owns what, who is responsible, who is accountable, and the simple trick here, you may already know about that, is the RACI framework. You know, who's responsible, who's accountable, who's consult, and who's informed. Basically, trying to define who's going to write the content, who's going to review the content, who are the subject matter expert on the content, who needs to be informed, who is accountable for the content to be published somewhere on your blog. I know I'm focusing on written content, but like on your YouTube channel, on your website, when there is content to be created. If you want to scale, you really need to be clear about who's doing what with the content creation part. Sometimes content creation looks more complicated than it is actually. So how many people here write blog article? How many people it's part of your job to do so? Half of the people raised their hand, some of the people, it's not really part of your job, but you're still doing it. At a startup previously, we were only 2 people writing content, and not that much because one was a technical writer, that was her job, but she has so much job with the documentation that she was not able to write blog articles. She did not have the time. And me as a developer advocate, it's one of the 10,000 things I need to do. So what I try to do, I try to involve the rest of the company, the rest of the startup. So engineers, marketing, HR. I was like, you're going to write for the blog. And most people did that face. I'm like, fuck no, I'm not going to do that. And people were like, I want to, but you know, I don't think I can do that. So what I tried to do is demystify the fact that it was complicated to comes with idea, demystify the fact that it was complicated to write content. And I'm not saying it's not difficult, but I'm saying most people are able to create content. So what I've done, I created a workshop. The first thing I said, like, let's try to find ideas. And people were like, I don't know, everything exists on the web, which is true. So what I asked them, take Post-it, write everything you're passionate about, tech-wise, everything that you worked on, every expertise you have, and write one per Post-it. For 20 people, we end up with more than 100 topics of things that they could write about. And the goal was just to tell them, you know what? Finding an idea about what you want to write is less complicated than you think. Don't stop yourself with the fact that everything already exists on the web. The second part was to help them to understand how to create content and demystify that part. So on the human side, if you want to scale, if you want more people to write content for you, you really need to demystify the fact that, yes, mostly everybody can write content. Because it's not the case for everyone. I would say usually I say like everybody can write content. With my experience now, I say mostly everybody can write content. There are people that are just like not writers, it's really just difficult, and it's fine. It's just not part of who they are. And there are other people that are just really bad at following processes, at following deadlines. They may not be the people that you want when it comes to creating content. So that's part of the human bottlenecks. Even if it's easier right now to write content, to produce content, it doesn't mean that everybody should create content. But there's a possibility there. This is what I'm trying to say here. Usually, the human bottlenecks also come where there is a process or processes issue and a tooling issue, which bring me to the two other category of bottlenecks when it comes to scaling written content. So, the process or processes bottlenecks. This is probably one of the most important bottleneck or part of the conference category of bottlenecks where there is the most issues. You have the people, you want to write content, you are missing proper processes in place to be successful. First suggestion, create a content calendar. Write things down. Decide when you're going to write what. It's a boring exercise at first. You feel like you're adding pressure to your to-do list and you're adding pressure to your day-to-day job. But if it's not on the calendar, if there is no deadline, not going to work. I don't know for you, for me, if it's not in my calendar, it does not exist. If I don't have a deadline, it will probably won't happen because I have 10,000 other things to do. So defining with the team, what do you want to write about this quarter? Maybe it's too long. What do we want to write about next week? when we're going to publish it, which brings you a first deadline about when you need to publish it, meaning that like based on that, you're going to be able to define a deadline about when do we need the first draft, and when do we need the review, and when do we need the, if you're a big company, when do we need the SEO person to review it, when do we need the design team to create like the image for the blog post, or whatever you want to create, depending on where you are, you may need to have all those deadlines that span from like, hey, I need the first draft like 3 weeks before the publish date because we have all those steps to do. But having a content calendar is probably one of the biggest things that are going to help you to create content at scale. The second one is having guidelines. I'm not a big fan of red tape, but at the same time, the goal here is not to prevent people to do things, is to ensure that the quality will always mostly be the same. It's to ensure that everybody knows what to do, when to do it. So with editorial guidelines, it can be about so many things. It can be about the voice and tone. Like, how do you want this to resonate with people? At a previous startup I defined the voice and tone of our blog. And the voice and tone was really simple. It was, we want to be seen as a technical, laid-back, human-friendly company. That was kind of like, yeah, we're a cool startup. We want people, we differentiate ourselves with the fact that we're human, that you can talk to us, that we're really laid back. We're going to talk about things. I was doing a live stream every 2 weeks, and I was making a lot of jokes. And yes, we were swearing, which you may think it's not professional, but like that was just part of like, hey, this is what we do in everyday's life. This is what we're going to do in our content. Writing style, which is not something I'm an expert in. But you know, if you want to use like a specific comma, what's the name of that infamous, Oxford comma or not, which is super annoying to me, but like it's part of like your writing style. You want to define how you're going to use H1, how you're going to use H2, those kind of things that seems to be not important, but like it brings consistency in your content creation. Formatting rules. Exactly how are you going to format things? When do you need, when are you using a bullet list? When are you using a ordered bullet list? It can also be on a technical level. When I was working with software developers that were writing articles for me, it was easier for them to use Markdown. So in my formatting rules, I had, hey, if you want to do bold, you're going to need the asterisk because there's 2 ways to do bold in Markdown, and we define it like this is going to be this way to use bold, to put text in bold in your Markdown. Content type. What type of article, if it's a blog, what type of article do we want? Do you want that picture? The photograph is here, so I'm taking my pose. You're too young for that, but like Sears catalog pose. But so content type. What type of content do I want on my blog? Do I want tutorials, technical tutorials? Maybe not. Maybe those go in my documentation. This is what we decided. So having this clear really helps people to have consistency. Also, SEO, whatchamacallit. Basically, you need to care about SEO. That may change how we're going to do things because of AI right now, but still, SEO, it's kind of like still a little bit there. You need to think about those things. It needs to be in your guide if you don't have an expert helping you with SEO. Media guideline. What do we do with image? We should have alt text, always, which seems something obvious, like we should use images that we have copyright. It seems obvious. Trust me. I've worked with a lot of people where it was not obvious. Like, yeah, it was on Google search, so I can use it. I'm like, yeah, no, depends. So having all those things, and the branding tiki. You know, the things about like previous company as an example, the company was named Q first, or product was named Q first before we were branded. So we had the product and the company, but we decided for whatever reasons, but it was our brand guideline, that when we're talking about a company, it was with a capital K. When we're talking about a product, it was a lowercase k. That was part of like, hey, this is what we need to respect when it comes to brand. The bigger the company, the more things you're going to have in the brand guideline on your editorial guidelines. The other thing that seems to be something where you're going to lose sometimes at first, but that's going to be really important, is the content brief. Before you start to work on your content, before you start to write the first line of your blog article or whatever you're going to write, your documentation, whatever, do a content brief. What does that mean? From my point of view, those are the most important, and you can play with those, add some, remove some, but the title. What's going to be the title of, let's say I'm writing a blog post, what's going to be the title of my article? Small description, 1-2 lines, just in case someone who doesn't have the expertise, do not understand the title, or just to give a little more context about what I'm going to do, what I'm going to write about. What's my target audience? We forget that most of the time. Who am I targeting with that article? Super important. The goal. What's my goal? I want people to sign up for a trial for my application, or I want to do something else. Define the goal. That's going to help you to create proper content that's going to help you to achieve that goal. Call to action. Again, maybe that was part of my goal also, like I want people to sign up. I want people to try the new feature. I want people to give me feedback about my product. What do I want people to do after they read my content? Or the subject matter experts. Maybe it's me. I'm writing the content, so SME, it's me. I'm the subject matter expert. Maybe I'm not. Maybe it's something way too technical or something that I do not understand in my product yet because I just started the company, so I need to talk to the product team and I need to, who's the person I can ask the question? That's going to help me when I'm under pressure to create that content, who should I talk to? And that's going to also let those people know that, hey, you know what? I'm Fred. I may need your help. Sorry.
Something's coming.
Yeah, something's coming. I will probably need your help. Be ready about that. Or set aside a little bit of time. I may schedule a meeting with you, or I may ask you to review stuff, which bring me to reviewers. Who's going to review my content? This is a step we skip most of the time, especially in a small company. I was in a startup. I was the only one of the startup. I was the only one creating content. I create my content, go on the blog, publish it, I'm done. Yeah, you know what? I wrote it. And maybe it's wonderful. Actually, it was wonderful most of the time, let's be honest. But still, I need someone to review that content because I created it. I had my face in it all the time that I was creating. So for me, it's clear. It went from my brain to text, to my keyboard, and it was clear. For me, maybe it was not for other people. So try to find someone who's going to be able to review your article, even if they don't have the expertise. Sometimes it's even better if they don't have the expertise. So having two reviewers, someone who has the expertise, so they're going to be able to review the code, they're going to be able to test it, they're going to be able to say if you say stupid things about specific programming language, but also having someone external who is a little less technical, depending on who's the target audience, or someone who is technical but do not know that technology. They're going to be able to tell you, does it make sense or no as a new user? Does it make sense or no as someone new to that technology? And lastly, quite important, schedule date. When do we need to schedule that? And you can go all the way with that. We need to publish, what date is it? August 4. We need to publish, it's going to go on August 6. Meaning that on August 5, we need to have the final version reviewed. Meaning that on August 4, I need to have the first draft. That's crazy schedule, but just an example. You can define all those, so it's really clear when you need someone to take an action. When is the deadline with that content? Does it make sense so far?
Yeah.
You have the right to say no. That's okay. So content brief, super important. Why? Because all that information, everybody will have the same information. From the person writing the content to the person who is accountable. Maybe you have a director of content or someone in marketing that approve everything. They need to know those kind of things. It's also a great fire starter, a great discussion starter, a icebreaker actually, fire starter. It's a great icebreaker, to start a discussion about do we need that content? Is it the right target audience? Why do we write that content when we could write 10,000 other things? So it's great because everybody in the process is going to have the same information, and it's an opportunity for you to start that discussion about that content. Personally, where I'm right now, at Tiny MCE, we have a meeting once a week with the people creating content to discuss those briefs. And it seemed it's under a meeting in my calendar, which is what I said in the first one I had. But after that, I was like, oh my God, that's brilliant. Because sometimes we change the target audience, we change the goal. Sometimes we define, or we just decided, you know what, that piece of content, nah, good idea, but not so good actually. Good idea, thank you, but no, next. We're gonna focus on something else. Lastly, the tooling bottlenecks, which summarize in basically you're using the wrong tools for the right people. It's probably the most costly, because this is where you're going to lose people, in the sense it's if you get people on board to create content for you, but you're using tools that does not resonate with them, it won't work. Usually, as when you look at tools, the problem it's either it's overly complex, too complex to what you're trying to do, it's bloated, or it's too rigid, doesn't give like some freedom to the people writing, or it just doesn't resonate. Actually, it's not just the right tool for the right people. The basic things you want in a tool is a review common possibility, where someone can just like highlight something and say like, what do you mean here? Like, I'm not sure I understand. Or they go in the code and they highlight a part and they say like, you know what? That code does not work. You made a typo. There's a mistake. It does not run on my computer, which doesn't mean it's not a good code, but still understand. History about like everything that was done and suggested it. It's usually most of the thing, like someone who's going to review mostly the typo can just do suggestion without changing the content, like the author is going to review and accept or not those different things. What I suggest, really simple, Google Docs. Go with Google Docs. It does all the things. It's free. It's working well. If you work with developer for the past, some developers didn't want to use Google Doc for whatever reasons. I never understood. But you know what I've done? I adapted the tool for them to be successful. So I switched to, okay, let's do Markdown. I'm going to create a GitHub repo, and you're going to do pull requests, and I'm going to review your content like that. And you're going to be happy because actually, if I want to be honest, I was happy too because I love Markdown and GitHub, and I love Git. So it was a happy place. But I adapted my way, and I used the proper tool for the right people. Those engineers wanted to write blog posts. They hated it. Doing that in Google Docs. I was like, okay, let's use Markdown. And, I have a job. I would also suggest you that, like, if you're a developer and you're building a tool where you need a rich context editor, use Tiny. TinyMCE, a couple of lines of JavaScript, you have a WYSIWYG in your application and you're good to go. And it has all the things that I said that is required for a proper editing tool to create content. And I think it's time for me. I don't know. Okay. So in the end, and I'm done after, in a nutshell, if you have to remember one slide, it's probably this one. That could be my talks in like 20 seconds. Communicate clearly and often. That's one of the most important. Define the role and responsibility distinctively and clearly. Be clear about who needs to do that, who needs to do what. Really clear about that. Create understandable and explicit processes. Again, it's not to prevent people to do it. It's not to have like red tape. It's to be sure that the quality would always be good and that everybody understands what needs to be done and how you need to do that. And use the right tools. What's happening with this? Use the right tools. And yeah. And lastly, when it comes to content creation, be creative. There's a lot of people creating content out there. So be creative. Don't be afraid to be creative, actually. There's a lot of content out there. What you want to write about already exists. It's the web. It's already out there. But you're going to have your own sauce. You're going to have your own vision to it. You're going to have your own expertise, your own experience. And lastly, just do it. Just do it. That was all prepared in advance. So just do it. Just write content. So on that note, thanks for your time. Hopefully that was helpful. If you want to talk more about content creation or basically anything, cats, whatever you want to talk about, I'm here all day. My name is Fred. Contact me on Twitter, Blue Sky, LinkedIn. Let's connect on LinkedIn. I also offer free coffee chat. You go on fred.dev/coffee. And yeah, thanks for being here.